And so thanks again for joining us today for the session of STEM Community Lunchtime Conversations. My name is Jeremy Babender, and hosting with me today is Beth Nickel from Arizona Science Center. Today, we're excited to talk about exploring nature.
So during this session, our presenters are going to share how the community, families, teachers, and others can engage in the natural world around them. Our presenters for this session are Kathy Ballman, Professional Development Committee at the Arizona Association for Environmental Education, Henro Ruiz, Center Director at Rio Salado Audubon Center, Claude Haynes, Observatory Manager at the Centennial Gilbert Rotary Observatory at the Riparian Preserve and Water Ranch, Catherine Bartlett, Education Program Manager, Conservation Education and Science Department at the Arizona Sonora Desert Museum, and Jennifer Stoddard, Education Supervisor at the Reed Park Zoo. Thank you all for joining us today to talk about your organizations and your programs. So these conversations were brought about in order to meet the needs of the community with the following goals in mind. And thank you again for your participation.
So with no further ado, wanted to cue Kathy Ballman, Professional Development Committee at the Arizona Association for Environmental Education. Thank you for being here, Kathy.
Hi, thanks for having me. Just real quick, my name is Kathy Ballman. I actually do a lot of work in environmental education throughout the state. I help with the Professional Development Committee with AAEE. I also run my own programs through educating children outdoors using public spaces. I volunteer with Audubon. I volunteer with the Native Plant Society. So I help with all kinds of education programming through all those organizations as well. Let me share our website. Oh, and I'm also Arizona Master Naturalist, and AAE and the Arizona Master Naturalist programs work a lot together as well. So AAEE is the local Arizona organization for environmental educators. We are an affiliate with the North American Association of Environmental Educators. We have a conference, which actually will be coming up in September. And we also offer some other events like open space meetings and other professional development opportunities for those interested in environmental education. So this is our website. And if you want to find events, you can go over to the events list, and we have information about the upcoming conference. We are actually looking for people to present at the conference as well. I think that's being extended for another week. So if you are interested in talking about environmental education, we'd love to have you. And then here is our event list where you can find information about our open spaces. We also have EE job postings if you're looking to get into environmental education work. We've been sharing that information. And we have a lot of different working groups as well that people can join, such as conference committees. They're starting some JEDI work, which is Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. And here's our open spaces that we have, which are very similar to what we're doing here today. And yeah, so events is the best place to go to get all that information. Another thing we would like more people to get involved with is we do have a forum. So you can come to the website and create a login, and we have a forum where you can ask questions and get support and find resources. So this is just, oh, and another thing to highlight, I almost forgot about this, is we do have an EE certification. So actually I took the class last year. So I am a certified environmental educator. The course is self-paced and you have a year to complete it. So the biggest thing that I learned from taking this is really learning the framework that NAAEE has in place for environmental educators. So you can find information about that 100-hour self-paced course on the website. And some other things we have in the works, which might be a while away yet, we are working on sort of a guide for doing environmental education in the desert. So I'm kind of somewhat new to Arizona. I've been here 3 years next month. And like for me, when I came from Atlanta, Georgia, this was way different area to do environmental education work in. And there really is not a curriculum or a guide to teaching in the desert. So that's something we are hopefully going to be working on that will be available to educators on kind of how to get kids outside in the desert and stay safe and deal with the heat and everything else that we have to contend with. And stop sharing. Yeah, so I think that's all I really have.
All right. Thank you very much for that overview. It's awesome just to see just how much you're engaged in that commitment. It's really great to see that. And if people have questions already for Kathy, if you can start to post them in the chat. And next, I'd like to cue Henro Ruiz, the Center Director at Rio Salado Audubon Center. Thank you so much for being here today.
Excellent. Good morning, everyone. Or actually, good afternoon now. Sorry. I am the new center director here. I've been at the helm a little over 3 months. For all our educational partners out there, I am reconnecting on behalf of the organization. So if there's anything that you'd like, please afterward hit me up on an email. I'd be more than happy to discuss any collaborations or how we can help in any way. So here, I am the director of the Nina Mason Pulliam Rio Salado Audubon Center. It's a mouthful. And that is the lovely facility that we have here on display. Audubon, Arizona has now consolidated with Audubon, New Mexico. And so we are now known as Audubon Southwest. Of course, our mission is we protect birds in the places they need. And hopefully that's an improvement for all of us. Next slide, please. So yes, so now we are connected, New Mexico and Arizona. Back to the mission, we do protect birds and the habitats through science. So we have a biology team that works out in the field. We have educational staff, small staff here. We're working to building that, and advocacy arm. We have policy staff that work and follow state legislation, work with other partners on trying to be good advocates on conservation issues, air, clean water, climate. And you know what we love to think of ourselves as stewards on connecting people to nature and providing conservation action opportunities. Audubon chose the urban core. We're here just south of downtown Phoenix. So we do focus on diverse and urban audiences as part of our mission. Next slide, please. A little bit of the focuses of Audubon National. I want to do a quick overview of the national and then bring us down to the local. We work on the coasts, working lands, water, bird-friendly communities, and climate. These seem to be our pillars as to what Audubon tries to do our work in, knowing that we have a lot of partners that do other works on the ground. Next slide, please. So one of the things that everyone in this chat, in this webinar, we're all stewards of connecting the next generation of conservationists to nature. I mean, there's a reason why we're doing our STEM-related work, we pride ourselves on bringing the next generation and connecting them directly. Next slide, please. And the way we do that is through our different programs, Nature in Your Neighborhood field trips, so individuals coming on site. This is our elementary school level programming. We focus around an interactive STEM-based curriculum in which we break out into different stations, birds of Arizona, mammals of Arizona, plants for birds, and water quality. So as some of our topics. Next slide, please. I hope I don't go too fast, but I know I'm being mindful of everyone's time. In-class presentations. So we also go out to different school districts as requested. some of our popular themes, downtown owls. So we do oversee a burrowing owls program. We have a staffer who prides herself on keeping that alive, and it's gone very well for us. Urban hummingbirds, most people's biggest love of birds, and so we have a specific program in introducing that to our young audience. And river pathways. So water is an ever important commodity for Arizona residents, and so we have a program trying to bring that to light for our young members. Next slide, please. For young and old and everyone else, we do conservation work days. So those are on an ongoing basis. We did stop those for a moment, but we are restarting this fall, starting in September. And so there are different projects: native plant, river cleanups, and of course our burrowing out. Next slide, please. And one of our biggest community events done every year, this year will be September 30th, is Enchanted Trail. It is a fall festival that individuals that we do around a Halloween theme, but bring nature incorporated into it. Next slide, please. And our advocacy arm. We cannot do what we do without our policy folks. And so the Western Rivers Action Network is one that we are part of, along with our Audubon chapters and these other wonderful partners. And hopefully my next slide, which will be the last one, I believe. And here is my contact information, the location of our place, and my email. So I hope I kept up time.
You're right on the dot. We really appreciate you coming here and just talking about what's happening. I know I visited the center a few times. It's just amazing what has been built and how it continues to grow, and it's great they got another passionate leader there to take it on. So thank you for being here and letting us know what's going on. Love that it's growing, and Arizona is the center for the whole Southwest. So I know we at SciTech would love to continue growing those conversations with. I know many of the leaders here would probably as well. So next, I'd like to bring on Claude Haynes, the Observatory Manager at Centennial Gilbert Rotary Observatory at the Riparian Preserve at Water Ranch. So thank you, Claude, for being here.
Okay, thank you. It's nice to be here. The official title is kind of slightly different: Gilbert Rotary Centennial Observatory, but it's nice that I have a title shorter than Henario's. The park itself, and I'm also not a town employee, I'm a volunteer with the East Valley Astronomy Club. We manage the observatory, and I have a lot of interest and time at the Riparian Preserve. But if you have specific questions about the operation of the preserve, I may have to refer you to some folks with Gilbert Parks and Recreation. The Gilbert Riparian Preserve is a unique public park. It's located just south of the US 60 in the East Valley, and you can take the Greenfield Road exit, and at Greenfield and Guadalupe, turn left or head east, and you will find the park just to the east of there. Next slide. It's a combination park. It's a public park, but also a water recharge facility. The water purification plant is next door to the park. The ponds are filled to enable treated water to seep down into the aquifer. Next slide, please. The park is located next to the Southeast Regional Library, and they have a lovely view of the town lake, which is stocked with fish, filled with water that is not from the water recharge plant or is not treated effluent. It's fish water. And the lake is stocked with fish periodically, and it's a great place also to view waterfowl. Next, please. The front part of the park is more of a traditional public park, and it's the home to the Gilbert Rotary Centennial Observatory. That's the mysterious white dome. Next slide. There are also ramadas and green spaces, and if you can see slightly out in front, the home to a lot of bunnies. Next slide. For kids, there's also a Dinosaur Dig area and another area so you can discover dino prints. Next slide. Now, the back part of the park is a series of trails that connect to the recharge ponds. These are closed at sunset. That's the reason for the gate, while the front part of the park is open until 10 p.m. Next slide. The paths are planted with a wide variety of trees and shrubs that are native to the Sonora desert area, and the signage helps you to kind of determine the different levels in terms of altitude that you might find for that typical type of planting. Next slide. There are many places to sit and relax and view, and the trails are also open for horseback riding from neighboring properties to the park. Next, please. Among the large trees and vegetations, the park has been open about 20 years, and so some of the species have grown quite large. You no longer feel like you were in the middle of town. You're kind of transported into the wilderness. This also connects to the Western Trail, so you can, if you're hiking or walking, it's kind of a really interesting, fun place for you to go through the park there. Next, please. The ponds are a great place for waterfowl, and they're very active during migration season. We are an Audubon sanctuary site. It's not uncommon to see during the spring and fall migrations just a huge amount of bird life and all sorts of things that are visible in the park. Next, please. There's also a Saguaro Circle, which is popular with wedding photographs and graduation photos just recently. And we have a path with special plantings for hummingbirds and butterflies. Next slide, please. Signs show you the variety of birds native to the area. And of course, if you're interested in nature, there's nothing better than looking at your cell phone. So there is an app for that as well. Next, please. The Gilbert Rotary Centennial Observatory was opened in 2006. It was a service project of the Gilbert Rotary for the Centennial of Rotary International. It was built with private funds, gifted to the town of Gilbert, and is managed by volunteers from the East Valley Astronomy Club like myself. The main telescope is a 16-inch Meade with a refractor for wide field views and a 60-millimeter solar telescope to view the surface of the sun. We participate in the educational programs with Parks and Recreation for school class visits. Please check our website for notices on reopening for our public viewings on Friday and Saturday evening. We haven't quite started them following the pandemonium, but hopefully will be happening soon. We also offer a private viewing for small groups Sunday through Thursday. You can see the website listed at www.grconline.org, and you can contact me through the website. And if you're interested in making reservations, you can do that as well. Next slide. The East Valley Astronomy Club also has donated several telescopes and binoculars that are available for checkout from the Southeast Regional Library next door. The telescopes are 4.5-inch Newtonian reflectors. They're in a couple of small packages, so they're fairly easy to carry around. They're designed for kids, so they're a little short. But if you set the telescope on a secure table or something, you can use that to help get it a little higher. The binoculars are also designed for viewing birds in the park. And in addition to a book on observing the night sky, we have an Audubon book on birds that they also might find in the park. Next slide. So I'm not a naturalist. Unfortunately, the naturalist at the park is an open position. You can check the website for the Riparian Preserve through Gilbert Town's site, looking at parks and recreation, and then it's a subset of their site. They have the website would list future events, but with the naturalists not being here, I'm not sure that they have programs, what programs are starting up right now, but I would encourage you to check the website.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Claude, again for coming today and talking to us about the preserve. I know I've been there quite a few times with my kids. We live pretty close to there. They just love all the different. Yeah, it really is just an awesome facility for them to explore and just all these find something new every time. So thanks for just opening our eyes to that as well. Next, want to bring on Catherine Bartlett, Education Program Manager, Conservation, Education, and Science Department at Arizona Sonora Desert Museum. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation to come speak with everybody. I am at the Desert Museum, which is, next slide. It is in the west side of Tucson. And if you've never been there, we are a whole lot of things. We are a nonprofit. We have a zoo, aquarium, botanical gardens. We have extensive education programs. We also have conservation and research programs, and we have an art institute. Next slide, please. There's a lot of things that you could do to explore nature while you're at the Desert Museum, and you can check those out on our website. For now, I'd like to focus just on the programming that is happening in addition to just enjoying the park itself. For youth experiences, we're doing a whole lot. We did virtual programming all year. So we did field trips, we did specific types of animal groups as virtual programs, and we had a really robust partnership with a couple of our schools that are close to us. We're going to continue in the virtual realm for a while. They are interactive, they're all Sonoran Desert themed, and they include live animal appearances. Right now, we are in the middle of summer camps, and I'll get to that in the next slide too, but we did host this year virtual and in person. We also have a junior docent program, which are teen interpretive volunteers, and the applications for that are now open. So check out our website if you have a teenager in your life that would like to interact with the Desert Museum for 1 to 2 years. It's a really fantastic program. And we also had school partnerships throughout the pandemic, but also for the past couple of school years. We had all 5th and 6th graders in Flowing Wells School District. This year we added in all 3rd graders, and they each received 3 virtual programs and a field trip to the museum. We're going to continue that for 2021-22. Next slide, please. For this summer, we did 3 types of camps. For grade schoolers, we had a virtual camp with KIT. That was last week. We had 22 kids, and we would mail out the kits. So it wasn't just Tucson area. These were kids from all over the United States. That was really popular last year, and some people still preferred it for this year instead of going all in person immediately. This week and next week, we are doing in-person camps at the Desert Museum. We're keeping it really small, 2 groups of 10 kids each, and we're focusing on the animals, plants, and minerals of the Sonoran Desert. For middle schoolers, in July, we'll have an in-person camp at the Desert Museum, and this will explore the intersection of art and science. It's called The Colors of the Desert. So we'll have artifacts and animals side by side with paintbrushes and microscopes. It's really cool. And high schoolers, we're crossing our fingers currently. We were going to do an overnight camping experience on Mount Lemmon, and I only say crossing our fingers because every day I see another forest is closed. And I'm hoping that it's not Coronado National Forest where this will take place. Hopefully that moisture rolling in will really help us continue this one. And this will be, the focus is on scientific observation, camping skills, and teamwork. Next slide, please. For adult programs throughout the year, we do have small in-person experiences. We had animal training in our theater. We do hikes with herpetology and botany hikes. So we were able to do some safe, socially distant outdoor experiences. We also have plant harvest. This coming weekend, we'll be doing the saguaro harvest, and at the end of the summer, the prickly pear harvest. People can learn about it virtually or in person for each of these. And we also still offer our custom virtual classes for adults, which are really fun, really entertaining. And a lot of assisted living facilities enjoy these virtual classes too. Next slide, please. And finally, community science. So if you want to go to the Desert Museum to explore nature, you can. If you want any of these programs to help explore nature, you can. Or if you want to do it on your own, you also can. We are part of the Tucson Bee Collaborative, Sky Island Photofauna, City Nature BioBlitz, and we host a Save Our Saguaros Mapathon. So these are all community science, and get on iNaturalist and explore your own backyard, and it helps get the data to the Desert Museum. So I think that is my last slide. And I'm Catherine Bartlett. You can email me at the Desert Museum, and I'll stay in the chat to answer any questions.
Thank you again for being here. And again, like I remember, actually went there about a month ago and just was really impressed with how many different enclosures there were, along with just paths. It really made the experience really unique. Didn't expect we'd be able to even look at all the different gems and mine and all those just unexpected experiences. So it's really neat to see that. And thanks for talking today about that.
Great, thank you for having me.
So next, wanted to bring on Jennifer Stoddard, Education Supervisor at Reed Park Zoo.
Hi, thanks for inviting us today. So I wanted to talk about how we do STEM at Reed Park Zoo. We are located first in Tucson. We're right in the center of Tucson. And we're kind of the sister to the Desert Museum, not officially though, but they focus on the natives and we focus on the exotic animals that can be found around the world. So STEM is present in all of our animal care and also in our conservation efforts. We support a lot of researchers all around the world doing great work in the field. And so we do try to bring what they're doing in the field to our guests as well. So next slide, please. And so I first wanted to focus on animal care. So we do a variety of different education programs. We do programs for private groups. We do programs that we offer, hopefully again, on a monthly basis. This is our Dr. Zoo program, which is one of those programs we offer on a monthly basis, where students can get kind of hands-on in preparing the medication for the animals, having to use their math skills and a little bit of science in there as well to figure out what medications they should give their patients. We also have a version of this for school groups that we do on grounds that we'll need to modify a little bit for COVID protocols, but hopefully we can offer that soon again as well. Next slide, please. Additionally, through our summer camp programs, we do kind of a lot more in depth. So this is an opportunity where we talked about how to build an animal habitat and requirements for that. Also introducing different careers at the zoo as well. Being a worker at the zoo doesn't mean you just have to be a zookeeper. There are other careers. So that was our introduction to that, a different career of exhibit design. Next slide, please. We then, focusing on animal care kind of to older students, new this year we had a partnership with the U of A School of Engineering, and we actually had two projects that they did. And the first one was making a motion censored enrichment item for our Jaguar. So she can see every time she passed by the device, it would either blow bubbles or blow up this, this gas station man. And so she really enjoyed that. Our second one, next slide, please, is our app for our flamingos, which another team did at the U of A, and it's currently being approved with Google and Android so that we can have it and use it with our guests here at the zoo. Next slide. Then moving on to wildlife conservation. As I mentioned, we do lots of programming for kids. So this is part of our summer camp where they got to kind of learn exactly what the scientists are doing in the wild. And we brought it home to them through a little bit of make-believe, but in a way that they're able to understand how STEM is used to protect wildlife in wild places. Next slide. This was for a Girl Scout Day we did a few years ago. We're partners with a project called Anteaters and Highways, figuring out how to protect anteaters as they cross the road. So it was a challenge for the Girl Scouts of what they would do to kind of mitigate that situation, and what would they build or what could they do to think about ways that anteaters could cross the road. Next slide, please. And then this is from this year's summer camp. We took it a little bit step further, giving them in-depth experience. We taught them how to use telemetry, which is a way that researchers find their animals in the wild. And in the other slide, they are sifting out strawberry DNA, which is make-believe elephant DNA in a scenario that they're doing to make sure that there's enough genetic diversity in a certain area. And again, that was based off of the work of a researcher that we support in Tanzania. Next slide, please. Oh, and that would be my last slide. We do offer also a biomimicry class that focuses on STEM for school groups, and also kind of a introductory conservation program that we offer for school groups too. And this year we have grant funding for Arizona schools. So if there's any teachers out here, we just updated our website. So you have all that information available to you to plan for next year. And thank you. If you have any questions, you can email me at the address below.
Great. Thanks again. That's a great overview. And again, I actually brought my kids to the Reed Park about a year ago, and they just had a blast there as well. It was easy to walk through. I think even the presentation of the material made it really digestible for them. So there was a lot of thought, I could tell, that went into that. So great to hear about the programs. So just wanted to, ask everybody, this is a great opportunity to ask our presenters questions. If you can, post them in the chat to get us going. One thing, just wondering, from my perspective as a parent is, how do we as parents, or suggestions from our panelists, just how do we as parents work to get our, as a family, get collaboratively engaged at each of the different environments in nature and what you have set up? A lot of it, you bring the kids and there's programs, which is great, but what would be that recommendation as a parent in terms of really leveraging that experience? And I don't know, maybe, is there anybody who wants to address that first? Maybe the race. Okay, so let's start.
Yeah, I'll go first. I think that Kathy's going to agree with me on this one, but bring a device and go on iNaturalist and join all of our projects while you're at the facility. So you can, like at our facility, we're just documenting biodiversity. You can do the ladybug count. You can do backyard bobcats in Tucson. We do the city nature challenge. And it just becomes a huge game of like a huge scavenger hunt that's really fun, that focuses right there on what you're doing, and parents and kids get to learn together.
It's a great suggestion. Love that one. I'll have to try that. Any other thoughts? We'll go to the next one.
I would say I do agree with her. There are loads and loads of projects, like the Maricopa County Parks has their own bio blitz going on right now. I know I'm organizing one in September for the Maricopa McDowell Maricopa Park, which is going to focus on pollinators. And yeah, I mean, I'm a homeschool mom, so I'm very pro like parents learning with their kids, and like all of my programs, the parents are invited to join in. Like I encourage them to nature journal with their kids, and get on the ground with their kids and explore. And like I offer drop off, but all the parents want to stay because they say they learn along with their kids. So yeah, but and if your kids like have their own phone, there's an app called Seek, which is like they made it so it was safer for kids, because technically iNaturalist, you have to be 13 to have an account. So the Seek app, what it does is you hold it up to something and you kind of adjust it, and it'll ID the item for you. And it's kind of gamified, so you earn like little badges and things like that. Also, like a lot of the parks, I know Gilbert Riparian has one set up, and Veterans Oasis, there's an app called Agents of Discovery. I'm actually working on trying to get some more of these put up. It's a very expensive app on the back end, but some of the parks have those set up, and again, kind of gamified. It's kind of like, I hate to say it, kind of like Pokemon Go, but you walk up to things and there's different questions. So, it might ask, like one of the ones at Veterans Oasis is like, might have a question about which of these is pollinators, and then you kind of select it and it gives you another point. So kind of like geocaching and Pokemon Go kind of all rolled into one. So anyway.
We're starting to get some additional questions. let's start with Bethany's, about wheelchair friendly. How will people get around if they do have wheelchairs? And what are those recommendations in terms of those facilities?
So
maybe
actually, I'm going to chime in. Sorry. There's an amazing website, actually, Audubon. It's an Audubon thing. It's called Birdability. I know Ruiz Salado has a captain, Corey, and I'm also a captain. And the website, I'll post it in the chat in a minute, but you go to that website and volunteers are doing assessments of trails all around Phoenix, Tucson. And you can go to that website and you can get all this information. So you can go to that park and you can see like how much handicap parking is there. I actually use a wheelchair too. So I'm like really excited about this project, but you can, it'll tell you like how high the bird blinds are. Like, are they accessible if you're in a wheelchair? What are the slopes like? Is there pavement? Is there gravel? So anyway, that is like an amazing initiative. It was started by a lady in Texas, and like it's really blown up, and now they're trying to become a nonprofit and get funding so that basically states can then go to places that maybe don't have good accessibility and add those things. So maybe like the placards be like audio for people who are blind or things like that. So anyway, Birdability is amazing. Check them out.
And so wanted to also ask kind of what, how did you get into the career? Maybe start with Henro. Like how'd you get into do what you're doing today?
I've been very fortunate to come from different service nonprofit organizations. So working with youth is where my background is mostly running programs, work with Parks and Recreation and overseeing community centers. And I expanded upon my facility management, which then brought me to, prior to working for Audubon, I was with Chicanos por la Causa as their West Phoenix community center manager and oversaw facilities there. But I mean, everyone's a different route, whether it's facility management or nonprofit programs. But usually if you find your passion, which is helping people, you will find a path and a career that combines somehow.
Okay. Maybe you want to just give a chance to respond back for if Jennifer or Claude, you wanted to respond about any of that either? Start with Jennifer.
Okay, I was going to give Claude a chance. How I got into the career, I actually don't know. I kind of fell into it, but I've always wanted kind of not the typical job, and that's certainly what we all have in the education world, especially informal education world. But yeah, just something to make a difference and just, be able to inspire people too. So I used to run the teen volunteer program at the zoo as well. So it's kind of nice to see generations of environmental educators grow up at the zoo as well.
All right, how about you, Claude?
I just grew up as a nerd, so it's kind of natural. The East Valley Astronomy Club is very active in educational outreach, and so we have about 40. The pandemonium has caused some problems with that, but hopefully we'll start out again this year. We usually do about 40 school star parties a year. So the school, if it's having a reading under the stars night or a science fair night or something of that sort, the individual club members will just bring their telescopes, set them up on the parking lot or the basketball court, and then have people look at the night sky, whatever is visible in their particular area. Some areas are darker than others. Another point is for the Southeast Regional Library, they do have some kits that they have developed with ASU for night sky measuring, for some other hands-on activities with SciTech and STEM, and I would encourage people to check out the offerings at the library there too.
Awesome. Well, thank you. There's still more questions. I'm hoping the different panelists can answer them in the chat, but wanted to bring it back over to Hope for our phase 2 with the discussion. So thank you everybody again for being here.
Thank you, Jeremy. And thank you to our presenters. I love nature. I'm always hiking. I'm always out in nature, but honestly, I didn't know about 3/4 of the things that you all presented about. So this is so great. I'm so excited to get out and try a bunch of new things. So thank you so much for being here and sharing all your time and your wisdom with us. We really appreciate it. So now we're going to go ahead and go into the breakout rooms. So we'll have 2 breakout rooms, and we'll have one with Fritz and one with Casey, and we'll have some questions in there. I just dropped the link in the chat. Feel free to add you all. There's a lot of people on here with some really amazing resources. I'll grab what's in the chat, but anything else, feel free to add into any ideas into this Google Doc. The moderators will be taking notes as well. The doc isn't open, it says. Okay, let me see if I can, interesting. Well, good thing we have it says that everybody should have it, but a good thing we have moderators, and I'll work on seeing what's going on for that. They'll take the notes for you. You can always email them to me afterwards too, and we can add those in there. So we'll go ahead, we'll go into the breakout rooms for about 12, 13 minutes, and then we'll come back and do just a quick share out before we conclude for the day. All right, so here we go. Thanks everyone. All right, welcome back. See people jumping back in. Wonderful. I know some people are in their breakout room like, nope, I'm not leaving. I'm having too much good conversation. So we'll give them about 30 seconds here, and then, you know, we'll just force them out like we like to do, or Zoom does.
Sorry, my room. I jumped out. I didn't mean to jump out early in the middle of a sentence. Sorry about that.
Oh no.
I know. I'm just out here causing all sorts of problems. My camera decided to break.
Left your team hanging. Left your team hanging.
I did. Mid-sentence too.
Oh no. Well, the good news is you're going to get a chance to give us an overview here in about 1 second. So maybe you can finish your thoughts. So awesome. Welcome back, both rooms. We hope you had a great conversation, and thank you to Kelly for going in and dropping that document, changing those permissions. She's got the magical touch, so she was able to do that, which was awesome. So what we want to do in the last 2 to 3 minutes is just have a quick share out from Casey and Fritz about what you covered in your breakout rooms. So Casey, do you want to give us a quick overview?
Yeah, we talked about a couple of things that I think were really unique to our conversation. I think the first one is that, you know, advocacy is something that you know, isn't necessarily discussed when you're talking about environmental education, but how important that is, you know, in terms of getting people involved, getting them to like write letters to their representatives. And so sort of having that aspect is really important. We also talked about how sort of one of the interesting things about the way that sort of the environmental education landscape is set up is that there's sort of this idea that you go to the zoo or you go to the park and you know, you see nature and then you go back home, and sort of there's this weird like superficial differentiation there. And so the suggestion that, you know, you like folks really make sure that they're like the environment, you know, is your like the bush outside your house as well as, you know, the museum. And then finally, I think one of the things that we talked about that was really everyone was sort of excited about is just, well, not maybe excited about, but how there tends to be a lot of barriers for youth to get involved because of just like age limits and liability. And so trying to figure out ways to break down barriers for younger folks to get involved early on is something that a lot of the people in my group were really passionate about.
I love that, Casey. And I think what a great point about nature is right there, you know, like, and how do you go to the zoo or you go, you know, to these various places, and then you come back into your own environment and you start to identify things that are around you, right? And, you know, making that connection between the two. I think that's a great point. So thank you. All right, Fritz, I know we've got about a minute left, 30 seconds here. So Fritz, what is your quick shout out from your breakout room?
All right. Yeah, real quick, that's also something that we talked about in our breakout room when resources for engaging and just learning about nature was taking a nature walk And that could mean just going around the neighborhood and focusing on anything that you can see or sense that is nature. The examples were, where are the cactus? Where are the birds that interact with the cactus? And anything like that. And then another thing that we talked about was, was a school garden, and how a school garden can engage students, and it can even introduce some of the mathematical, like some of the, it's like math, the students in math class can use perimeter and triangles to engage with the garden, but also everything else that can be done in a school garden. I thought that was a fun idea.
Yeah, I love that idea. And Kelly just posted something in here too. Sometimes just she took her 6th graders outside and just sat and listened at the school campus, and just to pause and just hear all the things that are around us and sense them is also a pretty important. We don't do that often enough, right? We get caught up in the just go, go, go and forget what's all around us. So great suggestions. Well, thank you everyone for being here today. Again, thank you to our moderators and our presenters. We appreciate you. This was recorded, and we'll be sending out this plus all the resources in the chat, which were a ton. I'm so excited to be able to grab those in the Google Doc. So Fritz and I'll be working on that, and we'll make sure that everybody gets this mid next week. So thank you all for being here. We really appreciate you, and have a wonderful rest of your week.
Do you want to just say, for the sake of the recording, the next one?
Yeah, so our next STEM Community Lunchtime Conversation will be Thursday, July 8th, and we'll be exploring the topic, staying cool with STEM. So we live in a desert. How can we engage in STEM this summer and stay cool while doing it? So we hope everybody can join us then.